Hi, I'm Risa Wells, Realtor with Michael Saunders and Company in the Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, and Northport areas. Today joining me is Bill Ginn, owner of Presto Air. Let's get started. Welcome back. I am here with Bill Ginn of Presto Air. Bill, I've known you for quite some time. Melissa, I've known for a little bit longer. You've been part of the team now for almost 2 years. And you told me something a little bit before we got started today, and I'd love for you to tell the viewers out there. What's your background? How did you get started in air conditioning?
Well, it's a funny story. So I was one of the last ones to go through the mechanical and HVAC program here in Charlotte County before they disbanded that. I was going to do electrical, and I couldn't do the math. So they put me into this program and did this for quite some time. And my mother had told me that my father worked in the service, but didn't tell me exactly what he did. And in '97, when she passed away, I found this diploma that he did air conditioning and refrigeration in the service. And that got me interested to see what other people had done in my family. And I found that my grandfather actually worked at one of the ice houses in the Charlotte Harbor. When they would bring the fish through the harbor, they would ice the fish down at the halfway point. So I guess you could say refrigeration and Freon's been in my blood forever and ever. So.
For sure. Isn't that interesting that you don't think something like that is in your DNA, but obviously it is.
Well, at a young age, I started taking things apart, so I figured I probably ought to learn how to put them back together.
Oh, that's a good idea. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm sure all our homeowners are very happy to know that you put things back together. I always worry about that when mechanics or whatever start ripping things apart. Are you going to remember where that part goes?
Yes.
You remember, don't you?
And no extra parts.
And no extra parts. I'm so glad to hear that. Since you're my AC guy as well, and you do the maintenance, and you've put in a new air conditioner for me as well. I have 2 units at my house. I always wondered, how do we know, and I do have questions about air filters, but how do we know which air filter is the right one for us?
Well, you want to look at your indoor air quality. Some people have allergies, people have asthma, things like that. So you want to get a high-end filter, like a pleated filter or a HEPA filter. Every filter has a pro and a con to it. The better filters are going to filter better, but you have to stay on top of it more often. Because it's doing more filtering, you're going to get 2 weeks to 30 days out of it, whereas the blue throwaway filters, you can get about 60 to 90 days out of it. Also, pets, things like that, smoking in the home contributes to air filters. So there's not one air filter that's right for everyone.
So how do we just test different ones?
Well, you look at your conditions. You know, if you have pets, you want to get a filter that's going to take out the pet dander, maybe some odors. We have one customer that is not so steady on a ladder. So she gets a very inexpensive filter, so she doesn't have to get up there so often and change it. So,
you know, that's a real problem with a lot of the older folks. And, you know, we do have quite a few retirees here. And I know my air filter is up in the ceiling, a cathedral ceiling. If it weren't for my son-in-law, we would never change it. That's a real problem. Why do they do that?
Well, when they're laying it out, as far as the builder and the mechanical contractor, they may not take that into consideration. So we actually have a filter service. We have 1 or 2 customers that every 30 days or whatever, when we're in the area, we'll pop by and change the filter, just because we don't want our customers falling off ladders.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
I may have to do that if I want it changed very frequently. But There is a filter that I want you to tell me about that is, you cut your own, it's green, and it's got all this webbing and everything in that. How do you feel about those filters?
That's a hog hair filter. Now, my opinion, they're great for renters. And why they're great for renters is when they get dirty, they can pull it out, wash it, put it back in. The downside to the hog hair filter, there's no cardboard frame around it, so it doesn't seat in the filter rack properly, and it has the possibility to fold over and bypass and let all that dirt in the machine. So I would use that one as maybe a last resort.
Okay. Another question about filters. I'm on the filter path here. I want to know if you get a lot of dust in your home, is that also because the filter is wrong?
It's possible.
Okay.
But I had a case about 2 weeks ago. The lady says, I dust. About a week later, it's all over the place. You know what I found? Dryer vent. Her dryer vent had a little tear in the pipe. And when she run her dryer, that dust would go through her home. And that's where that was coming from.
Oh, that is something really important to know.
Yes.
I got a call the other day, or a text the other day, about cleaning the dryer vent. So that's good to keep in mind. Tell me about Sears and what do I need? What is this? Is there when you put in a new air conditioner now, does it have to be above a certain SEER?
Yes, the minimum code at this point in time is a 14 SEER.
Okay.
A SEER is your seasonal energy efficiency rating. That, in essence, is how fast the air conditioner pays you back. So you want to look at your electric bill, and that's going to dictate your SEER. If you have 900 square feet apartment and your electric bill is very modest, then you don't need a high efficiency machine. Well, let's say you have 2,400 square feet with a pool and your electric bill is $300-400 a month, then you probably want a high SEER machine, and we can help cut that energy cost down.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yes. And what about the brand? Do you recommend a certain brand over another?
To be honest with you, most air conditioners are about the same. When you take the top off them, they all have about the same part. I get the question a lot of what's the best brand. There's a couple things you want to look for. You want an all aluminum coil. That's one thing the industry has just come out with here recently, and they seem to be a little bit more durable than the ones in the past would develop leaks, because they would be a bimetal, which is two dissimilar metals. So when you're shopping for an air conditioner, look for an all aluminum coil. That's going to stay the test of time much longer.
Well, that's really good to know. And what about maintenance? Do I really need to hire you to do my maintenance, or can I do it myself?
Well, there are a couple things the homeowner can do. Make sure you change your air filter. If you cut your own grass, make sure the grass doesn't get blown into the outdoor unit, because that's once again going to hurt the efficiency of the machine. But other than that, I would hire a professional to have them do that. You know, we catch little problems while it's a nickel loose wire versus a $800 costly repair. So it's like the old ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
This is true. That's very, very true. And how often do we need to have you come and do the maintenance?
I recommend every 6 months.
Okay.
And catch that problem while it's a little problem, and we can keep everything nice and quiet.
Now, the last time that you guys came out to my house, when, I don't remember, it was Tony that came out, and Tony said, we have a little something in the unit, and it was a snake. That must happen pretty often, huh?
We do get some critters in there. I've seen everything from possums to ants. So everybody's looking for a dry, warm place sometimes, and the air conditioning system is where they find it.
Oh my gosh, that could break an air conditioning system, can it? A possum. Wow. Yes. Oh boy. Okay. One last question. The ductwork. Now, I know that's where all the the dust and the yuck and everything goes through and then comes out, in the vents. And I know that when my youngest daughter was a teenager, she was diagnosed with an allergy toward birds, and we had birds, and the doctor had us call in a company to clean out all the ductwork. And of course we had to get rid of the birds. When you get a new air conditioner, should you also get new ductwork?
Well, you definitely want to have the ductwork inspected. For the simple fact that within the last 5 years, the air conditioning manufacturers have changed the amount of air that comes through the machines. And we've seen that a lot. We do a lot of retrofit, which would be someone has an existing air conditioner and we upgrade it and replace it. Well, the ductwork is your delivery mechanism. So you can have a very high efficiency machine, a great air conditioner, but if your delivery mechanism is less than great, well, it's doesn't end well. So part of the process when we do sell someone an air conditioner, we go up in the attic, take a look at the ductwork, make sure everything's properly sized. We want to have a nice even temperature throughout the home, make sure there's no tears, because once again, you're going to be losing some energy if you're blowing your cold air into the attic.
Right. Okay. That's really very important, especially during a home inspection. And if we can take a couple of minutes to speak regarding when there is a home inspection for a buyer going into a new contract. Inspector does do an inspection of the variation of the degrees of the temperature coming out. And I know that because that's always on the home inspector inspection report. But how important is it and when would it be important for the buyer to actually call you to do an actual thorough inspection of the air conditioning system?
Well, of course, if the home inspector, the number they're going to look for is the temperature differential,
Right.
which is the air coming in and the air coming out. A minimum industry standard is 14 degrees. So, of course, if you have less than 14 degrees, you want to have a qualified HVAC contractor come out and take a look.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't know if you have above 20 degrees of difference, you want to have someone look, because you would figure, well, a 20-degree difference, more is better, right? Not necessarily. And that boils down to the ductwork. If your ductwork is too small, the air spends too much time in the air conditioning system, removes too much temperature, and will actually cause the machine to condensate and grow bacteria in it. So if that temperature differential is not between 14 to 18, you definitely want to have a air conditioning professional come out and take a look.
Okay.
Also, we can do a little bit more of a thorough look at things versus the home inspector. The home inspector is kind of a general. He's going to give you a general picture of the overall home. But if you have any additional concerns, I would definitely get a professional out there to take a look.
So would the professional go up, not only inspect the machinery, but go up in the attic and check the ductwork?
Yes. Definitely. What we're going to do is we're going to take the panels off the machine, check the general overall condition of the machine, check that temperature differential. Another thing we like to look at is the circuit breakers, because that's going to be what keeps your home from catching fire. You want to make sure the circuit breaker is the proper size for that machine.
Oh, that's a good point. Really good point.
And things like that. Some, like I said, the inspectors, they do a great job at what they do, but they have a limited amount of time. So they're only able to kind of touch on those things. So if you have any concerns, I would definitely get a professional out there and get a little bit more of an in-depth picture of your HVAC equipment, just for the fact that we're so reliant on it here in Southwest Florida, and the cost to replace them is substantial. So
yes,
it's quite the investment.
Very. And once someone purchases a home, it's they've already spent all their money on their down payment and everything else. So you have given us so much great information, and I just want to remind everyone, if you need a great air conditioning company, call Presto Air. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
thank you, Bill, for joining me, and thank you all for watching. And always remember, I've got a guy for that.